Welcome to episode 2 of the Anxiety and Athletes YouTube series. We're excited to have you here, Trey, and all of our listeners. We have a really great guest today. A lot of great experiences and a lot of advice to offer athletes and people dealing with mental health issues and other related disorders. So we're really excited to dive into this and to hear your story and hear your perspective on things and what you went through. So. A little bit about Tre Tipton, highly decorated athlete from Apollo Ridge High School. He received a athletic scholarship to the University of Pittsburgh, which is in the ACC Division I powerhouse, and he served as a wide receiver for Pitt for the last 7 years. But what he's done on the field, I'd argue, is just as great as what he's done off the field as well. So he's started a organization called Love, Living Out Victoriously Every Day. And it's a peer group made to support student athletes through adversity. Something really special that Tre started because of his actual time through his collegiate years, had multiple season-ending injuries, and had to deal with a lot of adversity himself. And through those injuries, was dealing with mental health, anxiety, and depression. And all that pain while he was actually playing. And so we have a really unique opportunity here to have Tre on and be able to talk about playing through that adversity and never giving up on his football career while also inspiring others and being that person that his teammates could come talk to and being that open person, a champion of mental health. And this is the type of high level athlete we need to be speaking out about mental health. It attracts more and more athletes to start talking about it. And so Tre's done a really good job of initiating that change and trying to break that stigma. So, I could read all his accolades on paper, but I'd rather get started with Tre talking about his story. And he's well educated, has a master's degree and in social work, I believe, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Social work and a bachelor's in communication, so all from Pitt. So he's ready to roll and talk about his story. So let's dive right in. How you doing today, Trey? Good?
I'm doing good, man. Just relaxing right now. I got a chance to be with my dogs this morning, so I took care of them this morning and then hung out a little bit with my girlfriend.
Awesome. And so tell me a little bit where you're currently at with your foundation, your organization that you started, and then your football career and whether you're going to kind of continue football or if you're looking more to go into that social work role and kind of start your career in serving others and helping others.
So again, I'm always trying to serve and help others. That's just been my life goal and life's work. But on top of that, I am chasing the NFL dream, like every kid who's ever left a
For
Division
sure.
One or Division III school. But also in chasing that Division I dream, I had to take a little bit on the back end with Love. I haven't had a lot of time in order for me to focus on it. And since then, I have been trying to grow as much as we possibly can with Love as well, though. So in terms of that, I got to take a personal time for my own mental health to help myself grow before I go and help somebody else out. So
Yeah,
that's where I'm
absolutely.
right now, still progressing in my own mental health and mental wellness, but in the same right, just trying to make sure that I'm still taking care of my number one. It used to be my number one. I'll say it used to be my number one getaway. You know what I mean? I used to have a tough time going through different mental health situations and depression and anxiety and everything in between. And football was my safe haven, But now I'm starting to learn a
Absolutely.
lot more about myself. You know what I mean? And enjoy myself on a different level. So I'm very thankful to be in my position that I'm currently in. And then on top of that, I'm also very excited to see what happens in the future.
Absolutely. No, it's awesome to hear, and we love seeing you pursuing that dream, but also continuing to take care of yourself is so important. I think, um, especially everything you've been through. I know for myself, and with my mental health journey, I learned throughout treatment that even the maintenance phase of after I got through intensive treatment for OCD and I was kind of reacclimated to being a functional person, I realized that I could quickly relapse and if I don't take care of myself. So I know for myself, like I still go to therapy and go to treatment to make sure that I'm taking care of myself, because at the end of the day, we can't pour from an empty cup.
Okay.
And as a strength coach, especially, I'm helping, hundreds of athletes a day. But if I'm an empty cup, I'm not going to have anything to give. And I think that's such an important facet of life to understand as an athlete, to give to your team and to your coaches, but also as a coach to give your athletes and your coworkers. So I want to ask you a little bit about when you first started noticing your anxiety and depression, and kind of being such an elite athlete from Apollo Ridge and going into your college career, and your mindset going to your college career, and how that kind of shifted after your first injury.
Yeah, man. My mindset going into college, I thought I was going to be the big fish in a big pool, like every freshman that ever walks through any campus, right?
100%.
So, but when you get quickly understood into the game, man, it's not that simple. So unfortunately, I ended up having a few injuries in my career, and coming into the university scene, as I like to say, because there's a high school scene and the university scene, as I like to call it. I don't call it college because there's two different bases, right?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I say the university scene, man. I had to learn a lot quick, man. There's a lot of bigger guys out there that I wasn't
Yep.
used to, man. There's guys out there running full speed, ready to hit, ready to get contacted. And I had to figure out on what I wanted to do, how I wanted to go about it. And football's always been my life. So I grinded hard like every other person that you will ever meet that plays a sport, right?
Right.
Work hard, play hard. But then on top of that, once that happened, I started to receive these injuries. And these injuries played a big toll on my mental health. So I had to figure out on how I was going to maintain my mental health through such drastic terms. You know what I mean? And I had to continue to find a way to fight myself to not go back into depression. And I really felt myself go through that depression my freshman year of college. My freshman year of college, I had been dating somebody who had a lot of childhood trauma as well as I have. And unfortunately, she was harming herself more than I was, So therefore, I was battling my demons, battling her demons, and then trying to play college
Right.
football as well as go to class and be a student.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
At the age of 18, at any
Right.
age, but the age of 18, it was definitely I'm
When
new
your
to
mind is still developing.
Yeah, man. I don't know what's right. I don't know what's wrong. I'm trying to
Right.
figure out what I consider right and what I consider wrong. And that was
Absolutely.
difficult, man, because I really wanted to do things right all the time. But sometimes doing things right is not doing it the way that everybody else tells you to do it. It's doing it the way that you know best for you. And that's what I
Absolutely.
had to learn for myself, man. I had a tough time at first for sure, but I feel like now as I'm getting into my later adult years, you know what I mean? I'm starting to catch on to it a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, it's such an important thing to realize that you can seek advice from others and use your resources, but at the same time, a lot of life is trial by error, and understanding and learning and growing through time and through experiences. So I'm sure those experiences, as hard as they were, have definitely shaped you to who you are today. And I know for myself, especially, things I went through in high school and the beginning of college. I, as painful as it was, suicide. I was suicidal and harming myself, and so crippled with anxiety because of my OCD. But I look back, and people ask me, like, would you like change anything? I wouldn't, even though I went through all that stuff, because at the same time, it made me an empathetic person, and it made me, the man I am today. So I think I wouldn't want. My struggles are my struggles for a reason. I think that God kind of gave us our struggles for a reason, and He wouldn't give us something that isn't going to make us better.
Especially as an athlete, man. If you love to compete, competing against yourself is something that you could do every day. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? So if you've been an athlete, had a conversation with a young lady yesterday about just finding that competitive edge against yourself, like one of my friends asked me, like, why are you always so happy when you're going through something so negative? And I'm like, because I finally get to see the competition. It's different when you don't know what's actually going on in comparison to knowing exactly what's wrong. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because now you know how to battle back. And that's been always my slogan, battle back. There ain't nothing that ever be able to stop me because I battle back. And that was the one thing that I realized. There comes points of time, right, where when you go through therapy, you go through all these different things and you're still low key like, why am I still not right? Like, why is it
Correct.
still not
Absolutely.
going well? And I think that's just because simply that you haven't come together with yourself to realize you're going to have to wake up and fight. This is not a wake up and it's going to be easy. You know what I mean? It's not just going to be feel better today. No. You got to
No, it's not a decision.
Yeah, you got to fight for your positivity, man. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be okay that it's not easy. Anything
Right.
easy's never been worth it.
Right.
Whew. Think about that. Anything
Yeah.
easy's been worth it, man. So that's one thing that I've been very blessed to understand early. But again, I'm still learning, man. That's the best part
Mhm.
about life. You're always in learning phase, and if you stop learning, you stop being great. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Talk to me a little bit about those, coming back from that first year. I think it was your second year. Did you tear your ACL?
yeah, man. So my second year completely blew out my knee. Didn't just
Talk to me about that because obviously I've been around a lot of athletes that have had traumatic knee injuries, but it can be so devastating,
yeah.
especially because after you came back from those injuries that you had the previous year, and now you have another setback. How did that affect your mental health, and how did you keep pushing past that point?
It's crazy because to be honest with you, that was the most positive I ever been in my life. Is after my first
Really?
injury. My first injury was probably the reason why love was created. And my first injury was the reason why I gained the mental strength. I gained mental strength. Yeah, I like that one. I gained mental strength. Reason why I say that is because when I realized that everything was over for that year, you have two options in that situation. You can quit,
Right.
like every single person wants to do when something like that
Right.
happens,
Sulk.
or you have an opportunity to come back better, faster, stronger.
Right.
But what people don't know is that decision's up to you. So with an injury like that, right? You know your doctors, your therapists, your physical therapist know exactly when you're ready to come back, right?
Right.
But it's your mental that stops you from coming back.
For
Because
sure.
you don't trust your knee. You don't trust that it's going to be good enough. Your body failed you once, what's stopping it from doing it again? I was so determined, my man, that I was like, if it's going to stop me, it's going to have to break me or kill me. I'm not going to stop until I get what I want. And I realized I felt that way after my freshman year when I attempted my life. I attempted my life 4 times my freshman year and was ready to give up on life, right? And I had made a promise to myself that I would never go back to being that human being.
Hmm.
But then fast forward, we get into my going into my sophomore year, or no, this is going into my junior year because my sophomore year actually I had a collapsed lung. So my sophomore year I got my lung collapsed in the game, and then my junior year I blew out my knee completely, and that was supposed to be my NFL draft year. You know what I mean?
Right.
So once I blew out my knee, man, I was just sitting there thinking like, I can't be stopped.
Right.
Like I'm not gonna let this small thing stop me. I got a couple years left. I'm not gonna end it right here. And then I noticed there was other athletes around me that were going through the same depression, same thing, same anxiety. You know
Right.
what I mean? And some on deeper levels and some on less deeper levels, but we all shared a common ally. We all
Right.
shared a common enemy. There it is, a common
Right.
enemy. We figured out that okay, we gotta we gotta take advantage of our current state, our current mentality. We gotta do everything that we can to fight back against our negative side of ourselves. We did that. We made sure of that. And the way that we did that, we built a community.
Yeah,
Sometimes
definitely.
sometimes the easiest thing in the world is just having somebody say, I got your back.
For sure. And how, with your, were you public at that point with kind of how your mental health was during those injuries, and obviously at the end of your freshman year with your suicide attempts? Were your teammates kind of in the know about that, or did you keep that to yourself? Because I think that's really important for people to understand is that, and how you were able to tell them and explain your situation to them.
Yeah, for sure, man. I had to battle back with that one too as well because at first I was a little bit reserved. I had to keep
Mhm.
myself away from everybody. Wasn't really sure on how I felt. But then I later realized that wasn't the best way to go about it because I'm dealing with everything on my own. If I was made perfect, my name would be Jesus. My name's not
Right.
Jesus, Tre Tipton. So I need help. You know
For
what I mean? So
absolutely.
I need somebody to put their hand on me and let me know things were gonna be okay. So I had to build a strong tribe. So I slowly built my tribe, slowly built some people that I trusted and felt comfortable with. And from there we became very close friends, very close family. You know what I mean? Because sometimes
Absolutely.
after a while, friends don't just be friends anymore. They
No,
become
definitely
family.
not.
So for me, building that tribe, being able to be open about what I'm going through, it took that whole year that I got hurt to slowly open up. It took me creating the organization Love to
Right.
slowly opening up. You know what I mean? To see those other athletes being able to open up and tell their story and tell their pain. I wanted to do the same. I wanted to be able to be out there and be able to tell people like I'm not okay. Once I built up the courage, it became like I couldn't stop. You know what
Right.
I mean? I seen
Right.
so many people
Absolutely.
being impacted, finding help in my story and finding help and knowing that you're not the only person. It blows me away to see so many different people be strong through their adverse situations, man. It's not like my story's incredibly more difficult than anybody else's story out here. You know
Right.
what
We
I
all
mean?
have our, our internal struggles, our external struggles, and we all struggle. That's the bottom line.
And that's the bottom line. We all struggle, but not every person knows how to get up and fight back.
For
Best thing
sure.
about life is you're not a victim of life, you're a warrior of life. So I apologize for that. I do apologize.
No, it's okay.
Business would be calling. They're probably gonna call back in 5 minutes, but I do apologize ahead of time. But nah, man, it's been one of those things where, again, I had to figure it out, bro. Like I was like, I'm not gonna sit here and let myself dwell into the past of which I was used to being, man. I used to be a kid that would cut himself. I used to be a kid that would be ready to jump off a building. You know what I mean? And
Right.
I got so tired of losing to me.
Hmm.
Like I said before, I'm not a victim. I'm a warrior. Just because you hit me a couple times doesn't mean the fight's over. You know
Right.
what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely. No, I
But
hear you. I like that, what you talked about with the community aspect, of building your tribe, because I remember when I was first diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder, and I was barely going to school, high school at that point, missing weeks at a time, um, you know, in and out of class, and not really building a tribe at all because I was such an outcast, socially, because of everything I was going through. I had no time to socialize. But then I went to one of our national conferences with the IOCDF, and I met, you know, 30 people that had OCD and had the same thoughts as me and the same fears, and the same similar adversity that I was going through. They were dealing with too, and that's when that tribe kind of came into fruition. It's like, oh, I just need to be around the right people, and but that sense of community is so important. And I think, I've been a part of teams that have had that community at the college level, and I've been a part of teams that have not had that sense of community and that atmosphere. And I could tell you that the best teams I've been a part of had that sense of community and had that sense of trust in each other, and having each other's backs. So I appreciate that, hearing that. I'm interested to see to hear about how your experience with kind of what your coach's response was to you starting Love, and how, if they were supportive, if there was some backlash at first. What was it like when you kind of opened up about mental health, and because that shifts a team culture, whether that culture was in place before or if it wasn't, now it is, and that's an amazing change to make within a team, because there's a lot of teams that don't have that culture, and I'm interested to hear kind of your path into instilling that culture.
I don't mean to say this in any cocky way by any means, but before people started talking about mental health, I was talking about mental health.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? I started
mm,
talking about mental health back in 2016, 2017. At
yeah,
that point in time, it was still uncool.
for sure.
It was still not something that we like to talk about. So yeah, I received a little bit of backlash from
Hmm.
teammates and coaches, a little bit here and there. But then it got to a point where I became the key source for people to be able to open it up about what they're going through or
Right,
what they need to talk about. My coach would be like, "Well, we have an issue with this, and this guy. Trey, can you talk to him and manage it? If not, we can send him to the next person." You
right.
see what I'm saying? So like it
Yeah,
was those
absolutely.
things where at first it was a little bit uneven,
Yep.
but then after a while they started to trust me a little bit more. They started to see that I was really helping the athletes on the team, including myself, and it became one of those things where I felt like played a major role in the ACC championship when not even playing
Hmm.
the ACC championship. You see
Right.
what I'm saying? So it
Yeah.
was definitely I definitely had frustrating times at the university, but I will say that over time it became easier, and over time it became worthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing for you to make that big of an impact while not on the field too, considering that all the success you guys have. So you were finding a way to impact your teammates even when you weren't on the field.
And that,
But I know for myself, when I started advocating. I'm 24 now. I started advocating when I was 17 years old, and started speaking at OCD Awareness Week events. And when I got to college, and then when I got to work, started working in the college setting as a strength coach, a lot of athletic departments didn't love that I was on podcasts and that I was speaking out about mental health, and starting anxiety in athletes and that kind of stuff. And for me, it was like nothing's bigger than than being a voice for voiceless people and giving people hope. So like here's my resignation. Like I'm not going to work here if you don't want me talking about mental health, and I don't want to be a part of this. Because for me, like I remember how desperate I was to have someone help me and for someone to understand me. So if we can be those people that understand people that are so voiceless, that's bigger than life for me.
Mm, I like that. I really like that. I like what you said. That was really good, man. I
Appreciate
appreciate you for that, man.
Yeah. So I mean, I just think that there's also, I think it's getting better, but with football, I think there's from teams that I've been a part of, there's definitely a macho man, toxic masculinity culture in a sport because, like, let's be honest, like you're going out there to beat the other guy down every play. So in a gridiron sport, talking about mental health, I think that's the sport in the most that is a little bit more taboo than talking about it in tennis or in golf or swimming or basketball. I think football is definitely a little bit more of a challenge to talk about mental health for athletes. So I'm curious if that culture pushed your decision to not talk immediately, or if it was more so just on your own terms when you were ready.
Yeah, it was more so on my own terms, man. I started to realize that no matter what, I had to be me. You know what I mean? Even talking out and talking up, you're gonna have people who disagree with what you feel. But if you are the man of the words that you put out there, then you don't worry about those people. You know what I mean? I couldn't worry about people caring about that I was talking too much about going through something. I couldn't care about that
Right.
because it's not me. And they're probably still dealing with those issues within themselves. That has nothing to do with me. The only thing I can do is do the best that I possibly can for me. Because the best me is better for everybody else.
For
It's
sure.
your friends, your family, and your enemies. Reason why it's great for all three is because they let you know between your family, your friends, and your enemies, where do they sit? Where do you reside? When I'm doing great, are you a person that tells me, what are you doing? You suck. Appreciate you. Stay in your lane, enemy.
Right.
And that could be a family member. That could be a best friend, or that can even just be somebody that you don't know off the street. But then you
Right.
also get those people, again, it could be a family member, it could be a friend or somebody that you don't know off the street, tell you that you're doing great. I'm so proud of you. You seem like the guy that those type of people are the people that you keep around. Those are the people that you add to your tribe. When I realized that, my tribe became strong. So then I had to show my tribe, what do I look like when I'm upset? What do I look like when I'm not okay? What do I look like when things are not going well and I can't stand up on my own 2 feet? Because when that happens, I have to rely on my tribe to pick me up. Because I'm not Jesus. I'm not perfect. So I'm not going to act like I'm perfect in any type of way, shape, or form. I'm not searching to be perfect. I'm searching to be the perfect Tre. And that is it.
Absolutely.
The best person I could possibly be. So with that said, I rely heavily on the people that I consider my tribe. Otherwise, if I don't consider you my tribe, you won't know. You won't know anything.
Yeah.
And that's still fine with me because privacy is okay too. You know what I'm saying? Because so the reason why I think that I'm more selective on telling people what I'm going through in the moment is because not everybody's ready for your story.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like not everybody's ready to hear on how deep or how in depth you struggled.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they're going through their own struggle that they're trying to understand. So therefore, they're not ready to hear somebody else's struggle because then it might minuscule their struggle. And I feel like that's something that's very difficult because people feel like just because somebody else is going through something a lot tougher than you, what you're going through is diminished. No, because
No.
you're
No.
going through. You know
Yep.
what I mean? It has nothing to do with the person who's going through something worse. It's what you're going through. That is your lifestyle. That is your problem.
Right.
So just because it's not as big or as grand as what I might be going through or what you might be going through or what the next person might be going through, doesn't mean that it still doesn't have a high amount of importance.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree with that. I think a lot of times people don't share what's going on because they know someone else is going through something. They always are told that, well, someone's going through something way worse than you. Like you could like be more grateful, but just because somebody might be going through something worse doesn't mean their situation isn't a struggle and isn't hard for that person.
exactly. And that's why I always tell people, man, you're not a victim, you're a warrior. You got
Mm-hmm.
up this morning. Every single day that you wake up, you're a warrior. The only time
Absolutely.
you become a victim is when you don't wake up anymore. You
Absolutely.
because you're given an opportunity. You got 4 quarters of life, bro, and you're probably in your first, second, or third. We ain't even hit fourth quarter yet. Fourth quarter is a wild, long time. But the game's not over. Get back in the game. Keep fighting. And that's something that I had to learn. Keep fighting. The game's not over. Because when you're no longer competing on the field or in the gym, right?
Right.
Now what?
Right.
Because you still got to get up. You still got to go be a person. You got to be a woman. You got to be a man. You got to be whatever you feel is necessary, right?
Right.
So if that's the case, get up. Wake up.
Right.
One thing I like to do anytime I go anywhere and speak, right? I always have people envision the person in their head who considerably tells himself times where, because let's be honest, we always have that voice in our head that nobody knows where it comes from. That will tell us something negative about ourselves that we didn't even know about ourselves yet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Absolutely.
you're not great at this sport. What you mean? I just got a Division I scholarship. How am I not great at this sport? You know what I'm saying? So there's certain you have to battle in your head. That's the fight. It's not easy. It's not easy fighting back, bro. Anytime you walk into any fight, if you're fighting another grown man right now, Tom, you know right now that that fight's not going to be easy. No matter who it is. You know what I'm saying?
No, sir. No, sir.
No matter who it is, it's not going to be easy. You got to prepare for that mentally, right?
Yep.
Conversation. There's that voice. There's that thing in your head who's telling you that you won't do anything that you have set out to do. So, right, when I go and tell these people, when I go speak, I tell them, close your eyes and envision that person and what they look like. Now tell that person bye because they don't exist anymore. And then envision the second person that's in your head that tells you that you can do every single thing that you ever set out to do. Every mission that you set up, every plan that you've taken in. Now tell that person to wake up because they're dormant right now. They're sleeping.
Right.
Time to wake up because you need to wake up that energizer. You need to wake up that warrior. You need to wake up that person that's going to prove to everybody that I'm better than what you thought I was.
I love that. I love that, man.
So that's something that I definitely work on as much as possible, is just constantly telling myself with self-affirmation, you're a warrior. Your strength is more than what you see right now.
Right.
After that, the day, I don't care if the world ends, I'm ready to go.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear also when you were going through those injuries and how did you know what resources and when you were going through your anxiety and depression at such a deep level, how did you know which resources were the right resources for you from the school, from the people around you? And, how did you know which ones were the right ones and which ones that didn't work as well for you?
I studied.
Mm-hmm.
I worked on it.
Yep.
That's the one thing that I feel like people going through mental health expect. They've been going through so much pain for so long. They just want the easiest route to get them out of their pain. Mm-hmm. I realized immediately there's no easy route to this.
No.
You know what I mean? Because not every therapist is going to work for you.
Right. Right.
See what I'm saying?
I 100% agree with that. I'm glad you said that because I went through 3 therapists before I found somebody that I've been with for 7 years now. You know what I mean? Like,
see what I mean?
100%. And a lot of times people will have one therapist that doesn't work for them and then they quit.
And that's the thing that I learned, bro. I'm the most cliche with certain affirmations, man. Try again.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I'm not a person to quit. You're telling me right now you're gonna give up on your life. Not your brother's life, not your sister's life, not your mother's life, not your daddy's life, not your wife's life, not your child's.
Your own life.
You're giving up on your own life by not trying.
Yeah.
And I refuse to go into heaven. God said, what happened? I said, I just didn't try. I'm not gonna do it. It's never gonna be me. So what I had to do is I was like, man, if I really want this to stop, I gotta figure out what's gonna be the best way for me. So I studied my craft. I studied me. Bro, we go to school and pay the school how much money every single year?
Yeah, study other subjects. Yeah,
study most subjects that we may never use.
Right.
I was like, let me get into the master's degree of Tre Tipton.
Right.
I had to figure out on who I was. I had to figure out on what I liked and what I didn't like. So when I go find my therapist, okay, that one didn't work. Why didn't it work?
Right.
Okay, cool. I didn't like this, and this. I'll move on to the next one. I don't like that one either. Why didn't it work? I didn't like this, and this. But this one works.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little self-reflection discovery.
And the one thing I learned from a couple Buddhist monks was silence is the best time for reflection. Silence doesn't always have to be bad. Sometimes not speaking is enough that anybody can hear, right? So with that, sometimes just sitting there and being like, wow, this was a tough situation. What made it a tough situation in my eyes? Okay, I identified the problem. Now that I see the problem, I see the enemy. How do I fix the enemy? We have the internet. Like, let's really be honest. We have it'll be different if we were going through depression in the 1920s.
A lot different. You got Google at your fingertips.
You know what I mean? It'd be different
For
from
sure.
in 1930. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
these different aspects, although we're able to connect, and it sometimes can be very difficult through social media because people tell you about yourself at any given moment. You're
Mhm.
still able to connect to anybody from all over the world. And ever
Right.
since COVID, people looked at COVID as a negative thing. And in certain ways, it is. It definitely messed up people's communication skills. But I will say this: we found different ways to communicate.
For sure.
We're technically communicating on a Zoom call. StreamYard
Right.
created because Zoom did so well.
Right. 100%.
So it's like we found different ways to communicate. You have to find different ways to progress.
Right, and that's
I,
using resources that are available to you now. Yeah, for sure. But that's also being mindful and studying the resources available to you and recognizing the resources available to you, not just waiting for them to come to you, which I think is a big thing with recovery for mental health and trying to get better. People just like you said, a lot of people just want the quickest route, but sometimes the quickest route, most of the time, the quickest route isn't the best route, and it's important to make sure that you're examining all the options that you have on the table that you know are available to you.
for sure. And that's why I tell people all the time, be careful on what you feed yourself.
Hmm.
Be very careful with people you're around, what music you're listening to, what food you're eating, what
Right.
you're around. The reason why I tell people this is because whatever you're around is what you become by accident.
Hmm.
Notice how
Hmm.
it's whatever you become. I hate that when people tell you if you're hanging out with 10 bad people, you're going to be the 11. No, no. It's not like I'm doing it on purpose.
Right.
Trying to, I said, I did it. You did it on accident, right?
Right.
So with that, you got to help yourself in that solution. If you got somebody telling you every day you suck, you probably shouldn't hang out with them no more.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you tell yourself you suck enough, so you don't need another person to tell you you suck.
Right.
You know what I mean? So let's get away from that. Let's get away from that negative energy. You choose on how much time you spend with the negative things in your life. And with that said, if you choose to spend that much time around something that's too negative for you, then you might have to cut it off.
Right.
And that's hard.
Definitely.
Notice everything that I said so far is not an easy route of
Easy
doing
to do. Yeah. Right.
it.
Right.
There's not been one thing that said, oh, yeah, this is the easiest thing. All you got to do is do this one time and it's going to work out for you. Listen, I'm in the business of realists. You know what I'm saying? So with
Yeah.
that, like, as real as it comes, is that being positive is hard. Smiling, hard. So appreciate those things, man. Stop treating it as if it's so corny and so cheesy. Treat it as if it's legendary because not everybody can do it on a daily basis. Not every person can do it so consistently where they feel comfortable with themselves.
Absolutely. I love
We are
that, man. I love that.
come on, man. I know you feel me, Tom.
I do. I do. I do feel it.
Tom.
I love that. I love that thing that what you said about choosing to be positive and smiling like that. You're right. Those are two things that aren't always easy, right? We go through our daily struggles. It's not easy to wear a smile on your face, but I definitely think that choosing that's awesome, man. I love that. Quick, I just want to ask you, what your vision is for love for your organization and your next steps and kind of where you want to see that going.
So as of right now with love, man, I see that going further than just love. I even thought about changing some aspects of it to really build even more because right now we live in 2020, right? I don't say 2022, I just say 2020. 'Cause let's be honest, the 2020s are the toughest time
Yeah,
anybody else facing the wild, right? Low key still waiting for the 2030s, but that's beyond the point.
yeah,
With that said, man, it's one of those things where it's planning to help people on a higher level. I went and got this building with my business partner so I could do that, right? Give people a space where when they walk in, everything that you even see from a visual standpoint brings you peace, right?
right,
Currently working with a color therapist, some new type thing, right? That every part of my building, right? I wanted to give you a different mood, right? In the specific
awesome.
timing of that mood. So if you're going into our podcast room is turf on the floor and turf on the walls, bonsai tree, koi fish. Why is that? That's peace. As soon as you walk in there, you're gonna be like,
I know. I was about to say I need my office to be like that, man. That's awesome.
and that my office is also like that. So what I'm doing with my office is I'm very creative, man. This is why my business partner is an
I'm gonna
artist.
have to hire you to redecorate my whole office.
Listen, talk to me, man. I'm cheap. I'm cheap. But essentially what happens is, right, even in my office, I put turf on the floor of my office. You know what I mean? I have plants in my office. And then even when you walk up the steps to get into our office, it's blue. Reason being, that we want you to walk through certain things in your dreams. We have cloud. This is how crazy our office is. We have clouds on the ceiling. Like it sounds like it's a very crazy, artistic, hectic situation, but it's really not. It's all based for the visual and the thought process. What do you feel when you see it? So my friend, an artist, he's doing our walls right now. He's painting it as crazy as he wants to be. But we sat down with the color therapy artist. So every time you look at each painting that's on this wall or each thing that's on the wall, we want you to feel a sense of all of my friends, every person that's come into the space was like, man, you walk in here, it's peaceful. That's the goal for love. I don't just love to be an organization that you see around every once in a while. Love is just an organization. It's a movement. It's what you live by. It's how you walk. It's how you carry yourself. That's what people get confused with love is. Yes, it helped people, but love is a conglomerate. I can't even say the word. I'm not even going to try. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to try. I know my strengths, so I'm not going to try. But it's a culture. You know what I mean? It's something that brings together. It makes people smile. It makes people do things. So I was like, I'm gonna make a building into this. Like, why not?
Right. I want that building to embody that culture that we kind of created.
So it's not so much is what's the organization becoming? What is it not becoming?
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's a safe space, a peaceful space. Anything and everything that you can do to create. We have a roof, a pretty roof. This roof is, when the time's right, this roof is gonna make me a lot of good things. Okay. So, on this roof, we're turfing out the whole roof because at night, if you want to come up and come experience the love experience, you want to come and experience the code name, the creators next door experience, as we like to call it, right? We want you to come at night when the stars are out, because where we sit at and where we reside at, you can see the stars beautifully. So with that, you're having a tough day, come at 8 p.m. Give me your phone. That's my number one policy, though. I have to be honest with everybody on here. My number one policy is when you enter our building is a no phone policy.
I love that. I love
that. It's a no phone policy because I'm a kid of the 90s. All right. So I grew up midway without phones. So I love the experience of just being in the moment.
Right. Yeah.
I'm in the moment. I don't got time to know what's going to happen on my phone. What's going to happen on my phone is going to happen whether I'm looking at it now or looking at it later.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
100%. 100%.
Cool. Let us get your phone. Go
being in that nothingness.
Yes. Being in that space where the reason why we have clouds in our office in the first place is because you're walking into your brain. You're walking into your dreams. You're allowing yourself to think through whether it's good, bad, ugly, or indifferent. And if it's ugly, we're right here to walk with you. What's up? How you been? You fell off your path. You fell off your path. It's okay. I'll never be your crutch. I will say that right now for everybody that's listening. I will never be your crutch, but I'll be your helping hand. You see what
man? I love that.
I can't walk your path, Tom. I don't know what you've been through, Tom. I don't know what shoes you wear. Probably can't fit your size of shoes. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to try to. I can only walk in my path. But what I can do for you, Tom, is if I see you fall and stumble on your path, hold on, Tom. Get on up, Tom. We can't avoid it. Tom, let's go. It's time to go.
Right. I think that's important to think about, as we close here. I think, I think a lot of times as an advocate, I try to problem solve other people. And the reality is I'm as someone that's still dealing with, mental health, I can't worry about solving other people's problems. I have to be that helping hand for people and be a voice instead of trying to fix people's problems, be there for them and be that helping hand. And I love that you said that because the more we try to problem solve for other people, the less growth they're going to experience too.
9 times out of 10, Tom, 9 times out of 10, people will solve their own problems if they're just given a person to speak to.
Right.
Like if you hear somebody say like, man, I don't understand why I just had a hectic day. Everything happened. My car crashed. Well, you just told me why you had a hectic day. You just crashed your car, dude.
Right.
Right. And then 2, you just told me next that your parents were not having a great day. And that's fine. Now we just identified 2 problems that you identified. So what would you do? What would you tell me in that sense? Like if I was going through those 2 problems, what would you tell me? Well, probably first tell you to probably go look at your insurance.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're telling me to do, huh? I think there's a person in the mirror you should go look at right now.
Right.
And so that's something
that
for
sure.
I've constantly worked on, bro. You should see my affirmations list, bro. My mirror, when I brush my teeth in the morning, I just write down words with a white expo marker.
That's awesome.
Ambitious, victorious, warrior, love, peace. So when I leave this house, when I leave my home, the space of peace, when I leave this house, it's time to go. It's game time. I'm walking again. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry.
Sure.
I bring everything back to athletes. I love to be an athlete. I'm not going to shy away from it by any means.
Absolutely.
But it brings me back to that sense of, oh, you're walking out of the tunnel and you see the opposition on the opposite side of the field.
Right. Right.
Tom,
It's go time. It's time to compete.
And that's one of those feelings, Tom. You know what it feels like. I know you know when you're about to compete and your adrenaline's going so fast. That's how I take on life. That's why people tell me I'm infectious. I'm nobody different. It's not like I did anything spectacular. I just love to compete, man, especially with myself. Like that energy, Tom. Imagine if you walked outside right now and you were like, "Let's go."
I think I'm ready to, man. I think I'm ready to after this conversation. I really appreciate you coming on, and telling a little bit about yourself and your story, and sharing, these vibes that you share. And you are infectious, Trey. I like, honest to God, you really are. And we really appreciate you coming on. So keep doing such amazing things, and affecting so many people's lives in such a positive way.
I appreciate you, Tom. You're a great spirit, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely.